From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Not guilty pleas for a 50-year-old man accused of shooting another man to death on the city's south side earlier this month.
Anthony Wayne Charleston is held without bail, accused of shooting 59-year-old David Shy to death on March 12th. Charleston was arraigned in Fairbanks Superior Court earlier today. Now, court records say Charleston apparently angered over a verbal exchange between Shy and a woman identified as Carol Haley confronted Shy. Charleston then told authorities in the midst of that confrontation, Shy assaulted him. Charleston says he then pulled a .45 caliber handgun from his pocket and shot David Shy twice. As Haley called 911, Charleston waited for authorities. Charleston is charged with second-degree murder, and trial in his case is set for the week of May 27th. Also arraigned this afternoon, a 20-year-old Fairbanks man accused of sexually abusing a child younger than the age of 13. Dylan Kyle Mitchell is charged with a single count of attempted sexual abuse of a minor in the first degree. Mitchell faces a lengthy jail term if convicted. Now, trial in his case is set for late May.
A 36-year-old Fairbanks man will serve between 5 and 15 years in jail for sexually assaulting a 21-year-old woman back in 2011. During scheduled hearings in state court late this afternoon, Dean Ranstead pleaded guilty to a single count of sexual assault in the second degree. As part of an agreement reached with state attorneys, more serious charges against him were dismissed. Ranstead must also register as a sex offender for the next 15 years. Court records say he assaulted the incapacitated woman during a party in May of 2011. Ranstead will be sentenced in late July.
New details are still emerging on the shooting of a young woman that took place late yesterday afternoon in West Fairbanks off Geist Road. Alaska State Troopers have identified the victim as 18-year-old Teal Diaz. According to troopers, Diaz sustained a gunshot wound to the head and was transported to Fairbanks Memorial Hospital before being medevaced to the Alaska Native Medical Center in Anchorage. She was stabilized for flight but later listed in critical condition. The incident reportedly occurred at an apartment complex on Fairbanks Street, and troopers say that 3 other individuals were present when the shooting occurred. Now, the news center spoke to Troopers spokeswoman Beth Ibsen about the investigation.
She's at Alaska Native Medical Center and listed in critical condition. At this point, just based on statements, there were 4 people at the apartment. We've interviewed everybody that was there at the time, and just based on statements that they gave us and some preliminary evidence, that's what it initially appears. But of course, we're still gathering evidence. We're interviewing other people that may not necessarily be there, but may provide additional information.
60 years of age may not be old to some, but it is ancient when talking about bridges. Tomorrow evening, the Alaska Department of Transportation will host an open house to discuss the possibility of replacing one of the oldest bridges in Fairbanks. The Wendell Street Bridge was built in 1953, and DOT wants to replace it to better accommodate pedestrian, bicyclists, and traffic flow. Repair of the bridge is considered not cost-effective, and replacement could take as many as 2 construction seasons beginning in 2016. The DOT open house seeks public input about the project.
We recognize that it's on the Chino River, it's a focal point of the community, and so we're really interested in, particularly for the first meeting, we're seeking what people want to see for bicycle and pedestrian connection options from Grail Park to Griffin Park, the north of the river to the south of the river. So we're specifically looking for how people will use those facilities and how they could be incorporated into our bridge.
The open house will take place at the Morris Thompson Cultural Center beginning at 5 p.m. tomorrow. DOT will give a brief presentation at 5:30.
All right, well, when we come back, more on a proposal to truck natural gas to Fairbanks. And
keeping frankenfish out of Alaska waters. Stay with us.
This edition of the Fbx Evening News is brought to you by Nissan, innovation that excites. Spadard Builder Supply, Denali State Bank, your community bank, and by Napa Alaska Stores, Napa Know-How.
Welcome back to the Fbx Evening News. After sitting idle for most of this year's legislative session, a bill written to help finance a natural gas trucking project is seeing fast progress. Yesterday, the House Finance Committee closed public testimony after receiving multitudes of positive support. Now, the state Senate passed their version of the financing legislation, SB 23, last week in a unanimous vote. Included in the financial package is $355 million worth of bonds, cash grants, and low-interest loans needed to kickstart a gas trucking plan and to build a North Slope liquefaction plant. A substantive review of the legislation will be held Wednesday, but all indications show the Finance Committee will forward the bill for a vote on the House floor.
Build a better mousetrap and people will beat a path to your door. Now, this famous saying can be applied to potential inventors up at UAF. The University of Alaska Fairbanks has created an Office of Intellectual Property and Commercialization to aid in the process involved with developing inventions and patenting them. Now, the office has a responsibility to protect and promote UAF research and technologies through legal research and in-depth feedback. In 2012, the department oversaw the submission of 32 inventions.
You interview the inventor, you start working with them. You start to build the idea of figuring out what's patentable. You figure out where the marketability is, and then we actually negotiate with industry, and we talk to them about what their needs are. And then if industry wants something completely different, we go back to the drawing board and say, you know, if we tailored this a certain way, we could actually meet those needs.
Liberty Tax Service will be holding a reduced cost tax preparation, which will also serve as a fundraiser for the American Red Cross to benefit disaster relief victims. For a minimum donation of $25, clients will get their taxes prepared for far less than average costs. Liberty Tax has put together several other fundraisers, such as Wounded Wear, March of Dimes, and Fairbanks Literacy Council events. The fundraiser will take place Wednesday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Food will also be offered to all who attend on Saturday.
We'll be doing taxes for free with a minimum donation of $25 or more. Anybody can come and get their taxes done for free to support the American Red Cross. Our fees range from a little over $100 up to $500 depending on how difficult your specific return is. So it's a great deal. You could come to either location, 3580 Airport Road or 910 Old Steves Highway.
The Fairbanks City Council has written an ordinance to combine the city garbage fee and property tax collection. Introduced by Fairbanks City Mayor Jerry Cleworth, voters will decide the final outcome and whether to eliminate the 4 payments that amount to $292 for garbage collection. In its place would be an increase in city property taxes, increasing about $149 for every home worth $200,000 in property value. This could save the city nearly $152,000. Although there are advantages, Fairbanks City Mayor Jerry Cleworth does recognize some disadvantages.
If you have a $200,000 home, the fee would be about $100 a year cheaper than what they're currently paying. The only downside we see on this is for commercial properties that do not utilize the service, and unfortunately we can't separate commercial from residential property, and so the mill rate would apply to all of them equally. They would see a small increase in their property tax, but no increase in service.
A widespread awareness towards genetically engineered salmon is building on Capitol Hill and in Alaska. News Center 11's Monty Bowen has details now in this week's Health Report.
Even though some companies are pushing for genetically engineered fish, many are opposed for a number of reasons. Alaska fears it could impact the state's fishing industry. Because of that, the state Senate passed a resolution against the so-called Frankenfish.
There are confirmed reports of Alaska fishermen catching farm Atlantic salmon reared in Washington and British Columbia. The effects of the escape of a genetically modified salmon could have catastrophic effects. Genetically modified salmon can spread disease to native populations, and the FDA has not conducted long-term sufficient testing to determine that genetically engineered salmon are safe to eat and that consumption does not impose a long-term threat.
In D.C. Friday, Senator Lisa Murkowski co-sponsored legislation to require labeling of genetically engineered salmon. That bill passed the Senate unanimously.
Require labeling of this genetically engineered fish, this fake fish. If you're going to be serving your family a good quality product, you want to know that it's good and it's quality. Allow us to label it.
In the lower 48 last week, 3 chain grocery companies said they were never going to carry Frankenfish to sell. Monty Bowen, News Center 11.
The Health Report is brought to you by the Ear, Nose, and Throat Clinic, located in the Medical Dental Arts Building. Call 456-7768.
Somebody didn't get the purple memo.
Purple brown. Oh,
Purple
you know what?
epilepsy.
That's right. It's in my heart, the purple.
All right, what's going on in sports today?
Well, a couple of our Nanics received some awards from the CCHA. We'll talk about that and a lot more from the Nanics. Also, we talked with an ASAA official about this year's state tournament and how it affected the wallets of you, the fan. That's coming up in sports.
Brought to you by the Law Office of Rita T. Alley. Peace of mind through professional legal services.
What's up, Interior? Joe Cook in the sports seat for you this evening. Let's get down to some sports. We start tonight with two Nanick hockey players winning the last of these two CCHA League Awards. First, Cora Odegaard, a two-time nominee, is the Co-Humanitarian of the Year. Odegaard, the senior defenseman and alternate captain for the Nooks, has heavy involvement in the community in various events and programs, but most notably with the All Your Heart campaign. Sean Head, Alaska's volunteer office manager, and Odegaard co-founded the With All Your Heart campaign in 2011, which raises money for the Harry and Sally Porter Heart Center at Fbx Memorial Hospital. So far, With All Your Heart has raised almost $140,000 for Fairbanks Heart patients. Odegaard shares the award with Western Michigan's Brett Beebe. Both are finalists for the BNY Mellon Humanitarian Award, which will be announced at the Frozen Four in Pittsburgh. Fellow senior defenseman and team captain Adam Henderson is a CCHA Scholar Athlete of the Year. Henderson has been pursuing a master's in business administration off the ice and has a 3.86 GPA. He already has a bachelor's in finance. Henderson is a beast in the books and in games. His 364 face-off wins as of March 12th were 22nd in the nation and 3rd in the CCHA. And speaking of the CCHA, it is no more. The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame won the last CCHA title with the 3-1 win over the Michigan Wolverines over the weekend. All the CCHA hockey members will be in different conferences next year. The CCHA has been around for 42 years. The conference has produced 8 NCAA champions, 179 All-Americans, 7 Hobie Baker Award winners, and over 650 NHL draft picks. The big reason for this formation was really the formation of the Big Ten Hockey Conference, with the Michigan State, and Ohio State playing in the Big Ten next year. UAF will be in the WCHA next year, and the National Collegiate Hockey Conference will be in its inaugural season, featuring teams like Miami, Ohio, and Western Michigan. UAF got to the Joe for the first time in 2002 and went to the NCAA tournament in 2009-2010 season for the first time in program history under Dallas Ferguson as members of the CCHA. As we mentioned, the Nanics will be moving over to the WCHA, which recently revealed their championship sites and a snazzy new logo. The Western Collegiate Hockey Association playoffs will be called the Final Five and will be in Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids, Michigan in 2014 and 2016. In the odd years, 2013 and 2015, the Final Five will be in St. Paul, Minnesota at the Xcel Energy Center. Out of the 10-team conference, the top 8 get into the postseason. The top 4 seeds will have home ice and a best-of-3 series. The Final 5 will be a single elimination playoff. WCHA teams, UAF, UAA, Bemidji State, Bowling Green, Ferris State, Lake Superior State, Michigan Tech, Minnesota State, Northern Michigan, and Alabama Huntsville, a Division I independent program. Also tonight, the ASAA March Madness Alaska and Anchorage was a great year. Competition was great down there in Anchorage. You had upsets like the East in service for a championship game, Monroe winning the 3A title, the dominant Wasilla Warriors girls team winning 3 straight titles. But from a fan perspective, there were some tweaks in this year's tournament that were good and questionable. The WPI winning percentage index for 4A schools had another year to get at-large teams in, like the Lathrop girls team. Patrons paid for sessions at the tournament, plus $6 parking at the Sullivan. If you left and came back, yep, that was another $6. The ASAA operated at an over $150,000 loss last season and made cuts this year. I talked to ASAA State Championships Director Isaiah Vreeman about these changes and issues and the expansion from 16 to 32 teams in 1A.
I think it played out pretty well. There was a lot of excitement, especially that opening Saturday when we were at South and West. because the Sullivan's not available that early because of hockey. There were a lot of great games. It was loud. I mean, it was pretty electric in there as well. We did have a correct WPI this year on that selection show, but we were missing some scores that were not reported. So those got reported. So Lathrop then was the invitee instead of Soldotna. I know there were some. I feel bad for the kids all the way around that's kind of the way it went down. But we got the right team in. The thing was correct. We went to sessions, kind of lowered the price for people, went to sessions. The Sullivan did charge for parking. You know, so there are some tweaks here and there that I'd like to try for next year to make it a little bit better. But overall, the atmosphere is kind of what I was hoping for and looking for. So I'm going to keep on with that.
And that's all I got for sports tonight. We'll catch you next time.
Welcome back to Fairbanks Evening News, everyone. Mike Schultz with you once again for a look at weather. It was a little brisk out there today with a wind, and we're looking at temperatures to slowly warm. We'll tell you more about that in a little bit. First of all, let's show you our photograph for tonight. This one's sent in by Diana Pierce. We'll call this a cold March moon, and you can see there between the trees, the limbs, a moon shining in there. Again, if you have a photograph to share, by all means, send it to me at Mike Schultz at KTBF11.com. Here's what's going on as far as our numbers out the airport right now. 4 degrees our high today, 1 degree currently, 7 below last night, so not much change in the temperatures. 48 in 1970, 35 below in 1925, and your sunrise and sunset works out to 7 hours, actually 12 hours and 59 minutes, a gain of 7 hours. We'll go over the 13-hour barrier tomorrow. Here's our satellite picture today. The area of low pressure is bringing all the snow is just kind of dwindling away, moving out of the picture. We're expecting high pressure to move up from the south. That'll warm things up. In the meantime, just a few lingering clouds here and there. Across the rest of the state, looking at nice weather for the most part, a little bit of shower activity around the southeast Alaska and the North Slope, but the rest of the state looking pretty good. Temperatures cooling down on the west coast too. Lower 48 weather. First of all, we'll start off on the west coast and show you that Seattle is showing a little bit of rain, also rain in Portland. As we move across the country to the east coast, we're looking at a little bit of shower activity around New York. Otherwise, lots of sunshine recovering from the snowstorm. Heading down the southeast, lots of sunshine everywhere you look. 71 in Miami. Dallas only 59 degrees. And out to the west coast, once again, lots of sunshine there. 71 degrees at Los Angeles. San Francisco, 61 degrees. And our satellite radar is showing a little bit of activity moving across from the west to the east, but nothing really strong. The big storm is moving out across the Atlantic Ocean. And the overall Easter weekend outlook is calling for quite a bit of weather to be happening. A lot of rain across much of the country, thunderstorms down to the south, and showers over the west coast. Well, back to Alaska for tomorrow for the northern sections, looking at more snow at Barrow, and Nome will have partly cloudy skies, flurries in Fort Yukon. Here in the interior, looks pretty good. Scattered clouds becoming mostly sunny in Fairbanks and Healy. Over the southeast part of the state, cloudy skies in Juneau with less clouds expected in Ketchikan. And then out to the southwest, we'll be looking at blizzard conditions in Bethel, rain and snow for Cold Bay, and late snow at Kodiak Island. And scattered clouds for Anchorage, Homer, and Valdez over the south central sections. Once again, we're looking at our kids' weather for tonight. And this week, we're talking with the kids from Arctic Light Elementary School. And tonight, a young man tells us about a tornado that hit his home.
Hi, my name's Adrian. I'm here to show my picture, and I'm in Mr. Comer's 3rd grade class in Arctic Light Elementary. This is when I was in Tennessee, and a big tornado came and started knocking down trees, and it knocked down one, and it hit our house and damaged it pretty hard, pretty bad.
Oh, we're glad things worked out for you, Adrian. Tomorrow night, a young lady will be here with a question for me. All right, here's your forecast for the remainder of the night. 17 below, colder. Clouds will be diminishing. That's why it's letting in the cold air once again. 11 degrees for the high tomorrow. Clear to partly cloudy skies, a little warmer. And check out the long-range outlook for 5 days. Temperatures rising to above freezing, and then close to 40 degrees by Sunday and Monday. Maybe just a little chance of a little light snow over the weekend. Otherwise, temperatures will be pretty nice. In fact, much warmer for the overnight lows. Again, we're looking at single digits above zero. And that will continue right on through the 5-day period. 10 degrees each day for the overnight low. And like I said, close to 40 degrees for Sunday and Monday.
Yeah, 37.
That is
haven't seen that up there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Skiing weather.
Yeah, dare I say, this could be the beginning of spring?
Wow, that's optimistic.
Yeah.
And
hold the phones.
I said, dare I say
Mike
it?
said
Dare I
it.
say it? And he did.
You dared to say it.
Yeah.
So now
We'll
we're
see what
happy.
happens.
We hope so. Mike.
Yes.
Thanks. That'll wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. As always, we're glad you could join us.
Coming up next on NBC Nightly News, the Supreme Court hears arguments on California's Proposition 8 ban on gay marriage with Ryan Williams.
And if you see news or have a story idea, you can call us at 548-1830.
And that will do it from all of us here at the News Center. Have a good night. We'll say one last word, ducks.
What?